All right. We out here now. So, all right. All right, here we go, boys. Hey, we got a message. Wonder who it's from. We got some Snapchats. This girl just told me she was at the hospital. No fucking way you get service in the hospital. What's up, Brian?
Yo, what's up, that?
What's up? Alright, so we got the topics for today posted in the philosophy channel and stuff. So, which one do you want to start off with?
What does certain words mean?
Certain words, those are certain words that people don't like the N word or the F word. Just words people think that certain people can say and others can't say just based on the stuff itself, the word itself.
I like free speech. Next topic.
All right. Next topic. Um, people
People
taking
taking
offense.
offense to stuff. They should fucking get over it. I advocate for personal responsibility. Next topic.
All right. The point
Point
of
of
life.
life. It's completely subjective. Next topic. Nihilism. Nihilism is a confused position because objectivity can't actually exist outside of the subjective experience. Or, sorry, no. What I meant to say is that meaning can't exist objectively outside of the subjective experience because it's a completely it's just a construct, it's just a word that we invented and a concept that we invented as a construct of language. It's just something that humans made up. There's no such thing as meaning outside of human language because it's just a word that we made up, and
Uh,
so meaning is completely subjective and it can't possibly exist objectively. It's all totally subjective, like I just
yeah.
said with the point of life. It's just whatever you think it is, and that
Yeah.
doesn't diminish the fact that that doesn't diminish it in any way. If you think that something's important, then it's as important as it could possibly be. And if somebody else says it's unimportant, then that's just, whatever. It's whatever they think. It's whatever you think. If you think something's important, then it's important. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to distinguish dreams from reality? Uh,
This is difficult one.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's it's done intuitively. How, if you're, I don't know how I would do so unintuitively. Like when I wake up from a dream, I know I was dreaming, but if you're asking me if my reality is a dream, I can't know that.
I know. Say if you could ask yourself in a dream, are you dreaming? But you can also ask yourself in reality, are you dreaming? Is
Well,
that
that's a
real?
good point because you can lucid dream, and there are many very consistent differences between a dream and reality, such as the absence of pain and certain phenomena like you can't consciously read text while dreaming, and several other things that are easily observable. And so there's many tests that people use when they're attempting to lucid dream in order to test whether or not they're dreaming. And so they do it, and they even do it all throughout the day during reality, so that they're sort of priming their subconscious to think of it while they're dreaming, so that they can lucid dream. And so that's one way that you can distinguish dreams from reality, is just doing those little tests that people do when they're trying to lucid dream. But if you're talking about in a different context other than the context of just going to sleep in the way that we normally think of it, if you're considering the fact of whether or not a reality is some sort of dream, like we're in some sort of simulation, we're just a brain inside of a vat with electrodes hooked up to it, with electrical signals being pumped into us that are simulating a reality that doesn't really exist in the way that we think it does, then you can't really determine whether or not that's true. You can't really prove anything exists outside of your subjective experience the way that you experience it.
Yes, yes. Um, but
That's solipsism.
what ism?
Solipsism.
Nice. Is that about?
Solipsism is basically an argument about why you can't prove that objective reality exists outside of your consciousness, and anything that you like, for example, you can't prove that China exists right now.
I
If
know.
you're not there looking at China, then it doesn't actually exist in the moment.
I know. That's very interesting. Like, oh man, I don't know how to explain it, but you're good at explaining things. I can understand things when you say it. My words and my speech comes out jumbled. Yeah.
You have a very distinct pattern of speaking.
Yes. It's probably some of the things that I do. Like while I am speaking, I'll have something in my hand and I'll pause, and it's just stuff. No viewers on here right now, so I have some. 1 second, let me mute this stream.
I assume so. You want to know a very important, something very, very important that you can do to help remedy to help remedy those things, especially the depression. A lot of those things are very much caused by inflammation in your brain,
Uh,
which is totally controllable by your diet. Not to say that there aren't other causes, but that has a
oh
lot to
yeah,
do
I
with it.
did have a traumatic brain injury a while back.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, that might
yeah,
be.
bleeding on my brain, swelling, skull
Oh,
fracture.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Well, yikes, dude.
I know.
I
I
don't know what
know.
to tell you about that one,
Yeah.
but just generally, um, when people talk about having depression, particularly if it's for no particular reason, like they, just happens out of nowhere, and they don't have a really good reason to be depressed in any particular moment. A lot of the time, that's caused by diet, and like for example, one of the most universal treatments for depression that people provide is exercise, and the reason for that is mostly because exercise is an anti-inflammatory process.
Oh yeah.
And there's been a lot of studies done as far as, for example, supplementing fish oil is a very effective treatment for depression, but that's because the imbalance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in people's diets is causing a lot of general inflammation throughout their body, which is a huge factor behind most major chronic diseases.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, but I do get quite a bit of exercise, like a lot. Maybe over a week. 3. So I'm there 3. 6 plus another 2, 8, 8, 10 hours, 10 plus hours a week of stuff. So that's interesting. I really due to the imbalance of like fish oils like omega-3 and stuff in your body, it causes like inflammation to a point
Yeah,
which
so
can cause other things.
Yeah, so omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are essential nutrients that your body requires that you can't actually synthesize yourself like you can with, for example, vitamin D and glucose. Like you can make glucose out of protein and things. Your body can usually make a lot of the things that you need from your diet just out of other things when you can't get those things. But you can't get those from anywhere other than your diet. And the way that people get it from their diet is usually from um, like vegetable oils, fish oil, that sort of thing. And in most sort of processed food in the Western world, like I think it was in America. people get about 10% of their calories from vegetable oils like sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil in particular.
From fatty
And
foods and like fried foods and stuff.
yeah, like for example, Fritos, corn, like fried corn
Yeah,
chips.
yeah.
They have like it's like 16 grams carbohydrates and 10 grams fat, which is like a 75%. 75% of the calories from those is coming from fat, and the only thing that has fat in there, like corn has almost no fat. The only thing that has fat is the vegetable oil that they're putting in it. So you're basically when you're eating um, those sorts of processed snacks, you're basically just eating vegetable oil, and you, the vast majority of people in Western society have an extremely imbalanced ratio of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids are very inflammatory, and omega-3 fatty acids are very anti-inflammatory. And most people, for example, in America, don't really eat much fish. Fish is very sort of uncommon in America compared to say Japan or in the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
People don't really eat fish. And on top of that, they're eating a bunch of processed foods that are full of vegetable oils, and they're frying everything in vegetable oil, eating a bunch of fried food. And so they have a ratio of like 1 to 30 in as far as omega-3 to omega-6, whereas a healthy ratio would be 1 to 1, or at the very maximum, it would be 4 to 1 or 1 to 4. And so people are way out of whack with that, and that causes a ton of inflammation throughout the body, just everywhere generally. And and inflammation is one of it. If you look at the biomarkers for any sort of major chronic disease, like almost all of them, inflammation is a huge driving factor. And what people don't understand is that inflammation is basically the cause of all these things.
That's crazy, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what kind of vitamins should I be put on? Just like certain fish oil vitamins and stuff.
Yeah. So if
Like,
you're trying to, just in the context of omega fatty acids, you want to stop eating vegetable oils, which is gonna be difficult for most people because it's fucking in everything.
yeah,
It's in all of your processed foods. It's in a lot, most or all of your frozen foods. It's in your ranch dressing. It's fucking in everything. It's very difficult to get rid of that, but really highly recommend trying to cut down on it. And you should supplement fish oil. They come, you can get fish oil in capsules.
yeah,
Different brands are. I would recommend a specific brand called Carlson. They're a little expensive relative to the others, but they're super high quality, and that's what I use. And basically, um, if you want to take it with a high fat meal so that it increases the absorption, because if you take a fish oil capsule, for example, just on its own without a meal to go with it, then you're absorbing about 60% of the DHA and like a third of the EPA. But if you take it with a high fat meal, you're absorbing like 90% of the DHA and 3 times the EPA,
uh,
which is basically the two subsets of omega-3 fatty acid that are in fish oil that are the most important. And so
yeah,
if you're going to supplement fish oil, you want to take, like, for example, if you let's say that you buy 600 milligram capsules, and it's like 300 milligrams DHA, 200 milligrams EPA, and then 100 milligrams of just like water or something
yeah,
like that, then you would want to take two of those a day with a high fat meal, preferably. And if you are eating a really shit diet with a lot of vegetable oil, then you probably initially want to take extra. You should probably take maybe 4 or 5 a day, again with a
mm,
high fat meal, so you increase the absorption, and then wane down to about 2 a day, because that's all you need to maintain a healthy ratio as long as you're not eating a fuckload of vegetable oils.
uh, that's awesome.
There's
I'll
a lot
have
of other
to
things
get
you can
onto
do
that.
as yeah, there's a lot of other things you can do for anti-inflammation. Like for example, you can take cold showers, although that's
Uh,
very difficult.
oh,
It's hard to convince people to take cold showers, but
yes, yes,
a lot of really huge benefits to cold showers. And then again, exercise is important. Getting enough sleep is very important. Getting enough sleep is sleep in particular is its own topic. Like sleep is extremely undervalued. It's basically the most important thing. Sleep is the silver bullet for health issues. Getting enough sleep is so fucking important. It's crazy. And so people should generally be getting 8 good quality full hours of sleep every night. But in most cultures, sleep is almost demonized. It's like you're not working hard enough if you're sleeping all like, oh, you're sleeping your life away, you should
oh,
try not to sleep so much. But that's total bullshit. Sleep
yeah,
is so fucking important.
I know. All right.
And then there's insulin resistance, which also, sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
you're good. Keep going.
insulin resistance also drives inflammation very significantly. And insulin resistance is mostly eating too much glucose from refined carbohydrates, like for example, pastas and bread and any sort of processed foods. An example of a non-highly refined carbohydrate that'd be healthy would be a potato,
Mhm.
for example, like a whole potato. And by the way, all the nutrients in the potato are in the skin. You gotta eat the motherfucking skin. The skin's
Uh,
very important. Anyway,
yes.
whole potato is a good source of carbohydrates. Because if you eat super refined carbohydrates, like for example, um, like the difference is just in the preparation. Like if you they had this study they did with rats where they fed several different diets to different groups of rats, and many of the diets were basically like um, breads and rice and things, and like I said, refined carbohydrates like white rice and bread. And so those rats got really fat and really unhealthy and got a bunch of diseases and stuff because they had insulin resistance from this diet. And then one group of rats was fed sort of just a normal dry food diet, whatever the fuck it was, and they didn't have any insulin resistance whatsoever, and they were totally healthy. And then they tried it again, but they took the healthy diet of just the dry food and they crushed it up. All they did was crush it up into small, tiny pieces, and then those rats got insulin resistance off of that diet.
Oh, that's crazy.
So the physical consistency, the preparation of it is actually extremely important, which is why I say for another thing that drives insulin resistance is fruit, because fructose is basically a toxin to your body. It's processed through the liver, 80% of it. It
Mm.
causes a lot of problems. However, if you're getting fructose from say a whole fruit, then it's not so bad if you don't eat like a fuckload of it, because it
Yeah.
is the fiber in the fruit is regulating the release of the fructose into your bloodstream, and so it's not so bad as long as you're not eating a super high fruit diet, eating like 200 grams of sugar a day off of fruit. Like that's you don't want to do that. But it's not so bad to get to eat some whole fruit. But on the other hand, like for example, the difference between eating an orange and drinking orange juice is absolutely massive. Like, yeah, not having that fiber there makes the problem 10 times worse because basically all that sugar is hitting your system instantly, and your liver is basically being overwhelmed by all that amount of sugar being processed so quickly because it's all in liquid form and there's nothing to sort of regulate the release of it into your bloodstream and the absorption of it in your gut. And so that drives insulin resistance because your body has to release more insulin in order to deliver the glucose from the fructose in the orange juice. It has to release insulin to deliver all of that glucose throughout the body and to get it through the bloodstream. And so and if you are releasing too much insulin, then, or if cells are getting too much glucose, then basically um, the cells basically say, fuck off, we don't want all this glucose, take it somewhere else. And so your liver, or pancreas rather, produces more insulin in order to force them, like, no, bitch, you're going to take this fucking glucose. And so that is what causes the insulin resistance, which is a huge driver for inflammation, which is a huge driver for everything bad about it's just fucking everything.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that drives insulin resistance, I forgot, but I think it has something to do with um, inflammation. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. That was kind of hard to follow, but I think I got it. I got to take less fructose. I can't even say that.
I
I'm
highly
actually
recommend
retarded.
the second video, the second to last video that I uploaded on my channel,
Yeah.
is actually about the topic that I just mentioned about nutrition. And you don't even have to listen to the videos, it's just things that I just said. What I really highly recommend you do is you go into the description and you watch the videos that I linked there, because it's where I got all the information and they really break it down very specifically, and it's extremely insightful.
All right. This was extremely insightful. While we're still on the topic of this, what was the thing about the pizza? Like when you were talking about it,
Oh,
why it's
uh,
awful?
yeah, I was memeing about pizza because the crust is a very refined carbohydrate,
Uh,
which, as we mentioned,
yeah.
drives insulin resistance.
Yeah. All right. What's the next topic?
Well, that was every topic.
I know.
I
I
I
know.
fucking blew through all your topics instantly.
I know. Um, what's the interesting thing? Uh,
Mm.
hmm, free will. I did.
I have a
I
video about free will on my channel, and
Oh
the
yeah,
summary
I
of that
saw it.
video is that free will exists subjectively but not objectively.
Yes, yes. I've done a lot of research into that myself. The problem with that someone had, I was trying to disprove their point about a God being real. So I gave them the paradox of free will. If the Christian God did exist, an omniscient God, then free will could not exist.
And there's a
Yeah,
million ways to convince people that their belief in Christian God is completely unjustified,
yeah,
but I totally gave up trying to do any of that.
I know. People
I,
don't.
I went really hard into that when I was like 17, when I was like first coming onto it, when I was
Mm,
a Christian, and then I like watched some fucking like I watched some debates with like what's his name, Christopher Hitchens and like Sam Harris, and I went all militant atheist for a couple of years, and I'm like, oh, I got to spread the truth to everybody. These people are living in confusion and delusion, and I must be the light of wisdom or
oh yeah, yeah,
fucking some that edgy atheist shit. But
yeah,
I gave it up. It's not worth your time. It's not worth my time. It's fucking totally worthless.
yeah. It's interesting. Out of that, I've been trying to like fuck, what was I gonna say? Um, something about fucking me trying to convince people and it's not working just because people who believe in Christianity are ignorant. That's what I've came to.
Yeah, I don't even engage with people unless I think like there has to be a baseline to the person's views for me to try and engage with them on any topic. If somebody comes to me and they're like, we all have free will, I love God, what is AI? What does that mean?
Oh yeah.
Then I'm just gonna say have a nice day and walk out. Like it's not worth my time.
All right. Let me read you some of my text messages of these girls that I was trying to talk to. All right.
Hell
Step
yeah.
one. This is some
Let's fucking
good
go.
knowledge. Good knowledge. So I started texting this girl yesterday, and she's talking about, um, I kind of believe in God, and then I was like, all right, which one? She texts back, the one that everyone believes in.
Nice.
And I was like, oh wow, that was pretty ignorant.
Holy shit, that's
I know. The one that everyone believes in. And I was like, all right, this is kind of actually retarded, but thank you. Next point. She goes on to say what she wants to do. She wants to work with kids with special needs, like severely retarded kids. And I think it's past the point that if you're working with someone severely retarded, that they should be either euthanized at birth or sent somewhere else, like, I don't know, like euthanized, basically, because they're not a help to society at all. They're just basically leeching off all benefits and stuff.
who said that, you or her?
Oh, me, to some point, to some extent.
Oh, okay. I mean, I wouldn't want to be retarded. I'd hope somebody would kill me if I was retarded.
Yeah,
But that's just me.
yeah. And then this other girl, also same last night. I talked about this on a different podcast I was on today, but I said I was talking about this girl. I was like, man, is it okay if I talk to this girl because I think she might be a hoe? He was like, oh no, no one's a hoe. And I was like, all right, how is that so? So the person who I was getting advice from was a Playboy model, so it was like apparently they're biased. They say, no women. Where am I getting Discord notifications from? All right, but they basically said, yeah, no women are considered hoes. They're all based on personal preference. They could be going through some things. Just because you're 17, you sneak around with guys and you've slept with 4 people already, doesn't mean you're a hoe. I was like, all right, I, all right. Apparently,
Epic.
yes,
Yeah, sleeping around is totally alright. That's cool.
I know.
That's
And
not
then
what hoe means.
I know. And then also a text. I was asking same person who sleeps around. I was asking for a way to get free of stress, and they say jam to music, and I'm like, all right, maybe I will jam to music. Any other suggestions? I listen to country music, sing or listen to Christian music, and read verses or write about verses I read. So I didn't reply to this in a cynical way or any way. Matter of fact, I just chose to let that go, and I will act on that later. Which
If you're
is,
trying to form a relationship with these people, that those are like gigantic red
I
flags. I
know,
don't know about that one, dude.
I know. I should have told the
You know
other
what's
girl that believing is in God is ignorant, but not this one, the one who sleeps around.
you know what's really funny? Poor Slink was bringing up the whole car thing in a ditch, and I just remembered I had jury duty for a case where a guy got drunk and broke a guardrail and ran his car into a ditch. That's
That's
so
funny.
funny. I didn't even think about that. What a coincidence.
I know.
Hey, by the way, if you ever get jury duty, don't fucking just fucking rip up the summons and ignore it. Holy shit, it's the most
Rip up the
unbelievable.
what?
God damn. If you get sent a summons for jury duty, fucking shred that shit and ignore it. Don't go. Don't fucking do it to yourself.
All right.
It is so agonizingly boring.
All right. Is it that bad? Is how
Oh my
long did you
fucking
go
god.
for?
It was like 3 days,
3 days. God damn.
like all day, and I fucking slept through it. I could not stay awake. Like I was trying so hard, and and my fellow jurors behind me were like kicking me, like, man, you gotta be awake. Like they could fucking like redo the prosecution or the defense can
Mm.
basically point it out if I'm like sleeping and force um force the court to find a new jury and redo the case.
Yes. Have you seen Devil's Advocate?
I have not.
All right. Well, it's a movie. It's pretty good. It's on Netflix. It's got Keanu Reeves, and he's a lawyer.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
Oh,
as a
I think
lawyer.
I've seen clips out of that,
Oh yeah.
but I haven't seen it.
All right.
I love Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, it's good. It's on Netflix. It's about 2
1997.
hours 10 minutes. Um, yeah. But about that, if I ever get jury duty, I would wish it to be something interesting, like a murder case.
That's exactly what I said to myself when I walked in. I'm like, this is gonna be a cool case. I think this is gonna be pretty fun, and I was actually fucking excited to get into it
Hmm.
until I actually until you go through all the bullshit and all the paperwork and all the questioning, and then you finally sit down and they tell you what the case is gonna be about, and it's just the most mundane fucking boring thing, and they spend the whole time just saying the same fucking thing over and over and over. This is the clearest cut fucking case I've ever heard in my whole life, and I imagine most cases are like this guy was driving drunk and he ran his car down into a ditch, and then he abandoned his car and the police came upon the scene because somebody called, and then he came back to his car and he was fucking drunk, and they arrested him, and his defense was like, oh, I wasn't driving drunk, I just felt like driving my car into a ditch, and then I went to a bar and got drunk and then came back to my car. I wasn't driving drunk, officer, when there was no bar within like 20 fucking miles of where he was, and there was no evidence that he had any drinks at that time. It's just, and they literally spent the whole time rehashing the exact same thing. And they like we spent a whole like 8-hour day educating the jury on driving drunk and why it's bad and how it can cause impairment. It's like the oh my it was agonizing. Like I literally went to the bathroom a couple times to vomit because I was so bored. I wanted to vomit. I'm not joking. It was unbelievable. It was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Dude, that's awful for 3 days of that same
God, it
shitty
was
stuff.
fucking terrible.
I know. Heck, I would go into jury duty hoping that I get like a serial killer case or like a mass murder case or something cool, not
Yeah, you're
some
gonna get
just
something really
something
stupid.
blatantly obvious.
you gotta think like most cases have got to be fucking stupid, right? Like they gotta be
know.
just some dumb shit.
I know.
And I'm pretty they are, dude. And it's so a friend of mine was actually mentioning me. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go to jury duty. Damn, I really don't want to go." And I'm like, "Well, you don't have to go." And he's like, "Lol, of course you do." And that is total bullshit. There's so many ways that you can not go. Like, first of all, if you literally just ignore the summons, the chance of them deciding to come after you about that is like 1 in 1,000. And if they do, you have to pay like a $100 fine or something. Like whoop de doo. Like
Oh.
they never go after people for that ever. And if you're worried about that, you could just go in, and when they go through a long line of questioning to determine whether or not you're basically a reasonable individual that doesn't have any conflicts of interest, so that you can actually judge the case fairly. And all you have to do is come up with a completely random conflict of interest. Like for example, when they're asking you, have you ever had a family member who was arrested for DUI? Just say yes. They're not going to check up on it. They're going to take you for your word. Say, do you think that driving drunk is immoral? No. Like you just answer conflict of
Yeah.
interest questions in the opposite way, and they won't allow you to sit on the jury, and they'll send you home. It's
Mm.
so easy to not get jury duty. You have to really want jury duty, and a lot of people most people do, because they're just like you and me. They thought that it was going to be a cool ass case, it's going to be something real interesting, or they feel some kind of duty, some kind of obligation to their society. And if you feel that way, then Godspeed to you. You're going to fucking claw your eyes out at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Dude, that's fucking hilarious.
It is now,
Yep.
but it wasn't at the time. And oh, wow, holy shit. And the worst part is that at the end of the case, when we had to sit around and deliberate about it, the jurors took like 5 hours to decide. And it was the most straightforward, easy case in the world. There is no physical possibility that this person wasn't guilty, and it took them 5 hours to decide that he was guilty. And nobody had a good reason. It was literally just people sitting around being like, well, I mean, it's possible he didn't do it. He could, it's possible. It's like,
No
no,
fucking
it's
way.
not.
He was guilty though, right?
Yeah, he was
Yes.
guilty as fuck. He was so fucking guilty.
That's
God
hilarious.
damn. Let's get on. I'm triggered. We need.
We got Porcelain in chat saying re. Alright.
She has pink dyed hair. That's a red flag right there.
Oh. Ooh.
Colored hair in women is.
Oh
like,
no, that's not the
it's
girl. That's not. She's married.
That might be the case, but even so,
Yeah.
colored hair. Like if you see a woman with colored hair, there's roughly a 50% chance that she's fucking crazy.
Yes.
But 50% of them are okay, and maybe she's one of those people. But I'm just saying, half the time, this is a scientific fact. You can look it up. 50% of the time, they're a crazy motherfucker.
Yes. Yes. 100% anyone with colored hair. Any color that is not a normal color or gray is definitely insane. Any neon color is definite red flag.
Hell yeah.
Dude, my eyes are fucking itchy as fuck. Alright.
You know, another red pill to drop on you here.
Mhm.
Rubbing your eyes is really dangerous, and there's a very high likelihood of permanently damaging your cornea by rubbing your eyes too much. And if you talk to any ophthalmologist, whatever you call it, any eye doctor guy,
Yeah.
he will tell you, he will fucking he'll go off about it. Like they're very passionate about that. So try not to rub your eyes.
Porcelain said all women are crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, all of them. Yep, all women are. If she breathes, she's a thought.
She breathes. She's a thoughtful individual.
All women are queens.
That's it.
Oh my god.
I mean, a lot of men are people are just crazy, all right?
Yeah.
But women probably a little bit more crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not gonna argue that one.
Definitely. Uh, maybe I should respond to this person's text. Hmm. Should I ask this girl how much she believes in God? Like, how much? Like, do you really believe in God?
I think going any further into it is like, I mean, you already know the
Yeah.
answer to that question. She thinks she believes in God because people tell her so, but she
Yeah.
doesn't have any fucking idea what she's saying or what she's talking about.
I know. I have a really good book. God, the worst character in all of fiction, or the something like that. And then I have The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. It's a good book. And then I have a collection of other philosophy books like Stoicism and other shit. I have a
Hell
couple.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
My boy Marcus Aurelius, Meditations.
Oh no, I listen. Well, I do like the old Greek Stoic philosophers, but I have a lot of nihilist books. Right now I'm into the
Nihilist book.
yeah by
You have books on that
Friedrich.
shit? Damn.
I know really old books.
Oh,
Um
Frederick Nietzsche.
yeah, and also what the fuck am I getting messages from? I don't give a shit, honestly. Um, but about this what was I gonna say? I'm reading the genealogy of morals right now, and it's interesting. Kind of hard to understand, but it's pretty interesting. And then also I have read on to his other book. I forget the fucking name. I read it in like a couple days, but I didn't really take much from that. It's just one of the best philosophy books. People said it was about morals again. Part of it in there said that in not inbred people, but mixed people, I forget how it said it exactly, but mixed people are not pure, therefore they are not strong, which was kind of interesting.
Um, Intuitively, that sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah. And then also in the genealogy of morals, I was reading today that it was talking about the Jewish religion, and it was something like good equals noble, noble equals power, or money equals power, or no, fuck. It goes like good equals noble equals power equals loved by God. There were a couple other things in there, but yeah, that was pretty interesting about that. So, and it basically was talking about how the Jewish religion started out like Judaism, started out all good and everything, like perfectly fine. Then it evolved into hate, like outwards hate towards other things. Yes. A lot of
I don't know
the
anything about that.
yeah, a lot of the Jewish Bible interest me, like the Book of Enoch and about all the fallen angels and stuff. It's all bullshit, but it's still interesting. Good fiction.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like to read a lot about demonology. I tried to buy the Dictionary Infernal, but well, Dictionnaire Infernal, it's a French book, but I don't know French, and I tried to get an English translation, and it's like $200, and they only had it in paper, so I settled for a different book. It's alright, it just has a bunch of demonology on it. The Kabbalah is the Jewish Bible, thanks, Porcelain. But, yeah, I don't know enough about the Kabbalah to talk about it. Yeah, so I don't even know where we started out with that.
Me either. Happens a lot.
Yeah. What about
You know, I was considering. I was thinking about it because in political discussions or any discussion about anything, people get so derailed and so off topic all the time that they constantly forget what they're talking about when they're like they go off on a tangent to make a point about something that was a building block to a point that they were actually making, then they forget what the point they're actually making was, and they can't make the point anymore. And I consider maybe a system where if people are actually trying to derive truth and meaning out of any discussion like that, then maybe have some kind of shared Google Doc, for example, where basically you write down exactly what you're talking about, and then as soon as you make any kind of divergence whatsoever, you basically you like make it a branching tree where you basically branch off real quick, and then you write it as a branch in that tree. But then as soon as you're done with the branch, you go back down the branches all the way to the root, and you keep going on down the root of the tree.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I like that.
But I don't
So
think anyone actually cares. People mostly just debate for the hell of it, just for
yeah,
fun.
just for
If
fun.
you're actually trying to figure something out, then I think that's probably a really good idea. And if I ever do get in a discussion like that, I'm gonna try and implement that somehow.
Yeah. Porcelain is talking about the giants in the Book of Enoch. That's I haven't read any about that. I've read about the demons and the fallen angels and all of that stuff. I think it's fun to read about. It's just interesting. That's why I read into it, looked into it, and stuff. So, just lots of different religions. I think it's fun to look into and see what they do. Like I used to be into silent Scientology the year in between 8th grade and freshman year. I got them to send me free books and stuff. That was scamming the Church of Scientology.
Got him.
Yeah. And then a lot of people through that time tried to make me into Christianity. I stopped that in 8th grade when I was about 13 because I was like, yeah, this is actually fucking stupid. There are no good points for this. So, yeah. And then what did I do next? Fuck. After that, I looked a lot in. Well, I went on a lot of atheist phase. Then I looked into Wicca, the study of like the witchcraft and everything. For a while, I got really interested into that. Never like hardcore. I was just like, man, this is pretty cool. There's so many different inner workings of it and all different kinds of things, but it's totally bullshit, definitely.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you want to talk about next? Something, any ideas, Porcelain? Hmm. For... I don't know what to talk about. We're kind of spiraling off things. Hmm. I gave
Let's
my
falsify the Christian God.
all right, falsify it. So free will, evil exists. Nothing can be omnipotent. Mm, fuck. What else? I'm thinking
Wait, why
deep.
can't something be omnipotent?
Omnipotent. Partially because like, have you heard the lifting rock and everything? Is it still? It's somewhat omnipotent, but it creates a paradox of being omnipotent.
A paradox is just a construct of language. It doesn't actually exist in reality.
Oh, oh, true.
Got him.
Got me.
Got wrecked in that fucking debate.
I know. Have you heard about the? I know you talked about free will and stuff. Um, what about the that evil exists? It falsifies the Christian God.
There's a lot of things that falsify Christian God because there's so many contradictions in the Bible. You just read through the Bible and look and point to two different contradictions, then you fucking falsify them
I know.
because he can't possibly exist in the form that he exists in the Bible.
Yeah. And the evil thing, the paradox of evil, was that if an omnipotent, omnibenevolent,
Yeah, but then
omniscient
he gets some
God.
bullshit about free will.
Oh
Like
yeah,
God gave people free will so
I
they
know.
can be evil.
I know. But if God is omnibenevolent and omnipotent, meaning that he wishes for all good, he just wants all good, and omnipotent meaning that he can actually change the power. He has the power to get rid of all evil, but he's just deciding not to, which means he is either not omnibenevolent or not omnipotent.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Uh,
Gay agenda.
oh yeah. The gay agenda.
What does that mean?
The gay agenda is I guess it's this thing where there is like chemicals. There are
Oh,
chemicals put in the water and
yeah, I don't know
the
about
air and stuff to make people gay, to control population. I don't know much about that.
I haven't seen any evidence for that.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
I think it's unlikely. There's lots of gay people all throughout history
Yeah,
before anything like that could even be possible. So it's not shocking that there's gay people.
yeah,
And also, homosexuality is not something that you're born with. It's something that you can develop um, as a matter of the culture that you exist in
uh,
and how you're raised. And so, the more sort of generally, the more uh, like the quote unquote decadent the society is, and the more sort of first worldy your existence, then the more likely that is to to uh, to occur. Like
hmm
the more likely you are to be homosexual. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah,
But
it's like
anyway,
exponential. Like as the factors increase, the you exponentially increase as well as being around the factors, kind of.
yeah, something like that.
All right, nice, nice. Um,
Like there was less gay people 50 years ago, and it wasn't just because it wasn't as acceptable, and so people didn't say they were gay. It's because the more acceptable it becomes, the more people become gay, literally.
yeah.
Not just that people are coming out when they couldn't before.
Mhm. Yeah. Anything else porcelain that we would maybe know about? Dude, I'm about to go kick my dog in the fucking teeth if he doesn't shut the hell up. Ugh.
That's probably against Twitch terms of service to say something like that.
Oh, it's a joke, guys. It's a meme. It's a meme.
Just do what Destiny does and say
Yeah.
in a video game.
In a game. In a game. I'm gonna
Yeah, I was
kill
gonna
and
go kick
rape
my
your
dog in the
family
teeth
in a game. In a
in a
game.
video game.
In a video game. I'm gonna slit your throat in a game. In a video game.
Got him.
I'm gonna kill you in a debate. In a debate.
In a saleable argument.
Yes. Calling me Luber 2.0 because I said I kicked my dog. That's nice. But what next? Good stuff to talk about. We've had like really insightful stuff. Um,
We don't have to force it. We could always do it later.
uh,
Next time.
no, it's fine. We can try to think of something right now. Like,
I can't fucking think of anything.
I know we're on a roll. Let me open up Reddit, see what they have on there. Oops.
9/11.
What?
9/11 was kind of an inside job, but kind of not, and I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because the planes were inside of the building. 7/11.
There's a lot of evidence for a controlled detonation,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I haven't gotten that deep into it, and I don't really care to. It doesn't really matter, obviously.
Yeah. What do you think about the use of psychedelics and that it's a class 1 felony or A class or class A drug, the highest class of drug that
Talking about law as a function of keeping a stable and lucrative society running properly, then I think that might have some merit to it. But obviously, I think from a individual standpoint that's fucking stupid.
I know.
No good reason to restrict people from doing that.
Yeah. I think it's like a something it's not stage 1 or class 1 maybe felony to have psilocybin mushrooms, which are like the psychedelic mushrooms that you can get, but really it should not, I don't think it should be that high of a felony, like the highest felony that you can get from any drug, such as it's like heroin and meth on the same levels. I think meth might actually be lower than that, but
Sure, I mean, people get plenty of forms of legal meth and heroin from pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
that are basically in almost exactly the same form that they would be if you got them on the street, basically, and you can get addicted to them just like you can if you get them on the street. And there's
Mhm.
that whole bag of worms, but
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's all stupid, obviously, and I'm almost certain that, like I said, as far as law is aimed at keeping a stable society, I'm pretty sure that you can legalize all of those things, and it wouldn't really have much of an impact. There's lots of societies around the world that have those things legalized, and they're doing just fine as far as I know. So I think that's probably all right.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, from an individual perspective, it's just fucking stupid. And personally, I haven't done any of those things, but I would be totally down to try them if they were available to me easily.
Um, Pro tip. I can talk about something that's not here. I'll just mute my mic for a second.
Benadryl? Yes. Really?
Yeah. So I unmuted my mic now, but it's last time was scary, like really scary, like never again. So I don't think that's illegal to talk about it, but it might be against terms of service.
Yeah,
But
probably.
yeah, but in states Oregon and I think Colorado are trying to or are on the path to legalizing um, psilocybin mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, which is interesting. Yeah. They are also shown like MDMA and used as assisted as in like a psychotherapy thing is shown to help patients with PTSD get um, pretty, I don't know, substantially better through that other than just normal therapy. And the same thing with psilocybin mushrooms for people, the same amount of kind of therapy, but not to the point where you are completely hallucinating,
Right.
like
Yeah.
off your ass, fucking
Yeah,
seeing a
obviously.
bunch of shit. Like in
Speaking of that,
yeah.
Have you seen Destiny's video of tripping on shrooms?
Yes.
I watched the whole fucking thing.
Oh,
I
you
thought it
watched
was
the whole 3 hours?
I thought it was really interesting actually.
I know. It was
That kind of
crazy.
that kind of it almost inspired me to go do it myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Uh, but I can't say I promote the use of hallucinogenic drugs, but I can say I don't and wink.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but it is really eye opening. And by eye opening, I mean you want to close your eyes the whole time and never open them again, ever. Yeah. Um, that's interesting. Anything else? Where I live in Ohio, well, I think the United States as a whole would benefit from having marijuana legalized and having regulated sale of it because it could
Yeah.
generate way more money for the government and it can also hmm,
I mean,
like
there's pretty much no
take
argument
down
against it.
crime as well, like the illegal selling. Less people are getting into illegal scenes to get drugs other than just legalizing it, and the government makes money off of it. It can be taxed,
Well,
and
yeah,
the
but
sale is all regulated.
there's still a lot of profit incentives in place for maintaining the illegal nature of marijuana because all of
Yeah,
the prisons are private owned and they
yeah,
make money from incarcerating people, and
yeah. I know.
they can spend millions and billions of dollars lobbying to keep those things illegal. So
I know.
obviously, a
That's
lot of
what
roadblocks there.
I know. That's what I was gonna talk about the other day about conspiracy theories. Like more people are being put into jail because jails are owned by privately owned companies, and the government is like selling jails off and stuff. And that's the prison industrial complex. That it's been turned, like putting criminals in jail, has turned from getting bad people off the street or people who commit crimes off the street into a form of profit for businesses
Well, yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
completely fucking insane. There's no justification for that.
Yeah. And then what was I gonna say next? Like Canada has legalized marijuana, but their crime rate was already pretty low. Low depending on like
Yeah. Canadians are too damn fucking friendly and polite.
yes. Uh so um let's spin off do you think that people should get government paid treatment for rehab after doing illegal drugs? Because I think no, I think they should have to pay out of pocket expenses, and the government should not have to pay up for their stupid mistakes.
I generally advocate for personal responsibility
Yes.
over anything else. But
Yeah.
again, as far as law and running a stable society, I don't really know. It's not something that I think a lot about, to be frank, because I don't think that it's really worth thinking about for the vast majority of people. I think that people would be much better suited considering taking responsibility for their situation and trying to consider options on how they can improve it themselves through their own volition rather than trying to get the government to fix it for them. But if I had to guess, like if I had to respond, then I'd probably say that if well, I don't know. I guess probably I don't know. You can go any way with that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, giving them money or not giving them money, or both are pretty justified, depending on your point of view. I don't really know what I'd say to that, honestly.
Yeah. What do you think about kind of similar on the same lines as providing welfare for the people, but this is actually welfare? It's been transferred to like EBT, like electronic bank transfer. It's still welfare, but do you think there should be a limited amount of time that someone should be able to be on welfare so they are not living off of it?
I
So,
think that we should completely destroy and dismantle all welfare systems of that sort and implement a negative flat tax.
could you explain more a little bit?
Yes, so what I mean by that, a flat tax. So what I mean by negative tax is that if you are under a, so basically the tax brackets, there would still be tax brackets, but if you're under a certain amount, if you're under a certain bracket, then the government would pay you money. So you literally just get money for being really poor.
oh,
And I think that's a pretty good system. And particularly if you implement it in such a way that the person is not like as welfare is right now, a, a lot of the people who are on welfare have absolutely they have every incentive to stay on welfare and to never work because if they go to work they'll literally make less money than sitting on their ass taking welfare.
yeah,
And so you need to implement a system where people are incentivized to better themselves and go to work and actually make money, so and make it so that they're actually still getting some welfare while they're doing that, so that they are still, getting the benefit of doing that. And obviously, after a certain point, you stop once they have enough money to be on their own two feet and to take care of themselves.
mhm,
But if you're going to implement anything, any sort of social safety net or anything like that, I would absolutely either advocate for a negative tax or a some variation of universal basic income. Although there's a lot of confusion about whether or not that would work, and I'm not sure if it would work.
yeah,
But I'm quite sure based off of the studies the pilots that have been done so far of the concept, that there wouldn't be any major issues psychologically, as in, a lot of people argue that, well, if you just give people a bunch of money for free, they're just going to stop, everyone's going to stop working and they're going to sit on their ass. That's not true at all. People are going to work because they don't know what the fuck else to do with their lives, and because they want more money than just the very basic
Yeah.
amount that they're getting, especially because you probably wouldn't be able to find enough to cover all of somebody's basic expenses. You would probably only be able to give them some of the money that would cover their basic expenses. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to say, because it's hard to determine whether or not defunding all of our current welfare systems would pay for that, or how else you would pay for that, and how much it would be. It's really hard to determine that, but
Yeah.
generally, I think it's probably a pretty good idea. But the whole negative tax thing is much more. Um, it has a lot more proponents and traction than UBI. So both of those solutions would probably work fine.
Yeah. Hmm. What do you think about this was a thing that the nursing class above me, ahead of me, one time, like 1 year ahead of me, but the same teacher, they said they had to talk about the medication or medicating kids with ADHD and if it was fine or not. And I think it is completely fine. I don't see why there are any reasons against it. But you could also be mismedicating or misdiagnosing a kid who does not have ADHD and putting him on medicines for ADHD and getting him addicted to the medicine when he doesn't really need it, and it can spiral down into different things. So, like, should you have to wait until a certain age until you can medicate someone for ADHD so you're not mismedicating them? Or should you be able to do it after, like, an fMRI, like the
I
brain
mean,
scan?
uh, I the under first of all, that's not going to change anytime soon because of the current structure of profit incentives and how the education
Oh,
system works. But the root causes of people, like, um, I mean, I don't know how to fix that. Basically, is my answer. But I know, yeah, most people, the vast majority of people who are on this kind of medication shouldn't be on it, and
yeah.
they're on it for um based off of
Recreational use, kind of, in a way.
well, a lot of them are on it for like, if a kid, like a kid goes to school and the kid can't focus on his schoolwork because school is motherfucking boring,
Yeah.
and he wants to blow his fucking brains out every time he has to sit down in a classroom and memorize some bullshit for a test. That person doesn't have ADHD. They're just a normal human being having a completely reasonable reaction to the bullshit that is our current school system.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do about that?
Mhm. I know.
What are you going to do? Fix the whole school system? Okay, how the fuck are you going to do that? And how are you going to convince anybody to implement such a thing? I don't know. It's kind of just fucked. Like, this, I don't know what else. I don't know what to do about that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah. Talking about schools. Well, I was gonna go on to something else, but now talking about my school. A way that you can make school more interesting is you can add more electives. Like what I added to my schedule. I went to a career tech school to do nursing. So 4 periods out of the 9 periods of the day, I take two medical terminology classes in the morning, and then two nursing classes. Like it's called Allied Health. It's all about nursing, and some of those are for college credits. And going there, these are classes that I would have in place of like normal electives and study halls and lunch and stuff. There's one extra period added onto the day for lunch. So some people have study halls. I don't have any study halls. I have something every period of the day. But as well as with those kind of elective classes, which aren't really elective classes anymore since I'm going to school for that, I take all of the normal high school classes like English, government economics, and Algebra 3. I did all my other math, so this is the last one I have to take. I took Algebra 3 instead of Pre-Calc because I thought it was going to be way easier, and it is way easier. So, school's just been pretty easy, nice flowing. It keeps my attention way more because the classes are also shorter, which is really nice, but yeah.
Right on, dude.
Yeah. But I was going to say about the funding for schools and how the areas where nicer schools are, they're surrounded by nicer houses because people in the nicer houses pay more taxes to the district, which gives it, like, makes a nicer school because the school has more money for better things. As where, like, in a poor area, there will be a school and the school doesn't get as much funding because the houses around there are smaller. People don't pay as many taxes because they're poor or less wealthy and stuff. Do you think, like, all public schooling should get the same amount of funding, like, based on state? Like, all should go into one schooling fund for all the schools?
I think that there's, well, funding itself wouldn't instantly fix the problem. Funding only, I mean, obviously funding is a problem, and as far as what you're suggesting, yeah, that would make everything much more fair. I don't know how, I don't know if there's any issues as far as like implementing that or why they haven't done it yet, but yeah, sounds perfectly fair to me. Sounds like a good idea, but there's also a lot more issues with school. Um, just the system is inherently extremely flawed. The way that
Yes.
they do it, preparing, you know, preparing kids just to do well in tests and not actually teaching them anything about the subjects, and on top of that, not actually even teaching subjects of any relevance to doing well in real life, how to um, how to be financially responsible or how to look for a job or anything like that,
Mm, I know.
or how to think critically.
Yes,
Schools in general, just just everything about school.
I know. It sucks most of the time, but last year it sucked so bad until I moved to my new school, which is makes things much more interesting and much more bearable. Yes. Hmm. Another topic. What's next?
If you don't have another topic, I actually need to go pretty soon.
All right. Yeah. Then we can end it here. Pick it up later.
All right,
All
sure.
right. Yep. Yep. All right.
Sounds good, dude. It was nice
Yep.
talking to you.
You
Interesting
too.
conversation.
Yep. Good conversation.
Peace.
See you, man. All right. That's the podcast for today, boys. It's pretty nice. Whoever just joined, what's up? But I'm about to end the stream, so you can watch the VOD. I'm about to export it and put it on YouTube. So, all right. See ya.